It doesn't slice, it doesn't dice, it doesn't even chop. This is the Sledge-O-Matic. Aloha and welcome back to 9th Island RC. For those who get the opener, a little tribute. For those who don't, Gallagher, voted the 100th most popular comedian of all time. He's the one who came up with the original Sledge-O-Matic. If you don't know anything about Gallagher, I do recommend you look him up and have a few laughs, learn a few life lessons, because that is something he was good at. He was not an observer of people. He was an observer of life, of communities. Today, we got the Traxxas Sledge. So, the type of vehicle, it's been out for almost a year, and it's kind of a crossover. It's not really a monster truck. It's not a truggy. It's somewhere in between. You could almost call it a crossover. People love it because, it's big. It's smaller than an x-maxx, but it's bigger than, say, the Maxx or the Rustler. So, to answer the questions of why some people love it and some people hate it, it's a complicated vehicle. It is well designed. But in all honesty, as most people have found out, Traxxas, let's just say they made a few mistakes. I don't want to call them shortcuts. I don't want to call them cheaping out, although truthfully, to some extent, that is what they did. So we're just going to call it some shortcuts or whatever. So one of the first reasons why people hate it has to do with the chassis. You're going to notice chassis that is on the vehicle is not the original chassis. The original chassis, was a 6061 aluminum chassis. Aluminum is rated in different hardnesses. This one is 7075. Much harder, much more difficult to bend. A lot of people have bent or totally destroyed their original chassis. If you watch the video by RC Razor and you see what he did at Calabasas Park, the the BMX track, it's a park near San Jose, and I used to run my vehicles there. Fun place to go. He landed the vehicle so that it literally landed right on the top of a fence post and just bent this thing to, let's just say, way down south. So that's one of the reasons why people don't like the Sledge. Some of the other parts are also known to bend or break easily, and that is why we upgrade them. So let's get into exactly what those upgrades are. Okay, let's try that again. Sorry, I was actually trying to push the tabs in and I forgot you pull them out. So let me get that off, and I'm gonna flip this back over before I continue. Starting with the chassis. This is the 7075 aluminum chassis from M2C Racing. You also see that I installed the more recently released Traxxas skid plate. Protect this chassis. Even though this is 7075, it will scratch, and I want to try and keep it nice. You can also see that I've added the Traxxas wheelie bar. Okay, so getting to the top side, this upgrade really isn't so much an upgrade as it is just for aesthetic reasons. You notice that I replaced the stock black plastic pieces with the optional orange. So let's get that body out of the way. And right off the bat, you're going to notice something a little different about my chassis. And if I tilt and turn it, and you might see some colors reflecting. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. So, let's start with the diffs. So inside, I've actually replaced the gears in both the front and the rear with the 9579R. These are the machined hardened steel ring gears. The ones that you see in there, the pinion, actually it's the pinion and the ring gear. What you see inside here is actually just the original ones. Because I like to save those just in case. Another upgrade you see is the adjustment rings for the shocks, and the shock caps themselves are now the blue aluminum. So the shock caps, those are the 9664X, and the rings are the 8968X. Obviously the X is designating blue, so there are other colors that are also, for example, 8968G would be the green ring, adjustment rings. And although you can't really see it, let me see if I can try and get a better camera angle here. You notice the shock shafts have a little bit of a yellow gold to them. So I also did replace the shock shafts front and rear with the nitride, or whatever it is, TIN coated. So here you've got the 9662T and the 8963T. These ones are for the front and these ones are for the rear. Just quickly going back to the top, the orange plastic pieces, the body reinforcement pieces, those are part number 9510, T in the case of orange, G in the case of green, or X in case of blue, and so forth. Another upgrade that I installed, these are the sway bars. And if you take a look at the front, you can see sway bar here. Piece using 2 screws attaches to the front of the bulkhead, obviously going into the suspension arms. Little jerry rigging here, to help keep the motor a little cooler. You see I added a fan, also have an extension going into the receiver box. So I don't remember the part number on that fan. Another upgrade that I have, but I have not installed these yet, are the machined steel kingpin bushings. These are for, obviously, the suspension arm front. I have not installed those yet. I will get to that, but I want to continue running it as it is, just to see how we go. I did replace the stock servo. I'm running a Power Hobby 329 MBL. Also replaced, there's no servo saver anymore. I've got an aluminum servo horn, so that'll take care of all the steering. Now we get to some of the real goodies. So, from M2C Racing, in addition to the chassis, we've also got the entire Traxxas motor mount set up. So for that, you've got the motor support, which is underneath, which is 1410. You've also got the motor mount kit, which is 1413. For the whole top plate, the ESC plate, 1409. That is this top plate. So there are 2 different plates that you can get. One plate actually mounts down here in the stock position, and this one mounts on top. And what that does is that replaces this piece, which comes with the whole motor mount. This is very much like the stock piece. The reason I decided to mount the ESC up higher is the motor wires, just keeping everything as short as possible, not having things running all over the place. You notice I've got the motor wires sticking down, and they just run straight down here right to the motor. Just makes it nice and clean. I know you can't see them, but inside, both the inner hinge pins and the outer hinge pins, those have all been replaced with the M2C hardened steel pins. So for example, the lower pins, the front lower pins are $14.96. I don't remember the numbers of the others. Also have here from Vidavon Racing, Arthur. He does some absolutely incredible design work. He makes stuff for the x-maxx, which I have, some of his stuff on that. The Losi Baja Ray, Rock Ray, I've got a lot of that, including the axles. He makes and designs stuff for a lot of different vehicles. In this case, this is an ESC mount. Not sure if you can see if I can get a better angle of it, but so this does require an extra hole to be drilled. You can't see it, but there's an extra hole. So there's 3 holes. Normally it's held by 2 because it's actually part of the entire ESC receiver, all of that. So it still uses the 2 front holes, but there's a 3rd hole that's basically right about here that you have to drill through the chassis in order to install it. The next upgrade, a nice carbon fiber. Now there are aluminum pieces underneath, and they are 70-75, but the battery tray itself, carbon fiber, lightweight. And the best part about doing this is that with these straps, you aren't limited to specific battery dimensions. Using straps, length doesn't really matter too much. Width doesn't matter too much. Height definitely doesn't matter. If the battery is too wide, you can always rotate it, make it taller. Not a problem. It runs great. Now, the last upgrade, as I pointed out, you may see some shimmering. You may see some colors. Dark Side Studios. He prints skins, but not just for RC cars and trucks. He does skins for boats. He does skins for radios. He does skins for, iPads and just a number of things. I mean, he has changed his product line over the years, so I'm not entirely sure of everything that he's covering right now. But this skin is a semi-custom skin. Now, I don't know if you can see, but if you look, you may actually be able to make out the word sledge. It actually says underneath here, powered by, and also powered by Sledge. I wanted a skin, but I didn't want it on the outside where it's going to get all scratched up and damaged. When I saw he had this holographic, I instantly knew I wanted to put something inside. Again, this is just an aesthetics, upgrade if you want to call it that. But it just looks so cool. I mean, it really does. Just obviously you can't see it when you're running the vehicle. That's not the point. But it's just, when you're looking at it like this, it looks cool. So it's just something I chose to do on my own. Not for any specific reason other than I like it. That's it. That's the only thing that matters in this. Notice I am still running the stock ESC and motor. Why? A lot of other people have upgraded theirs. Honestly, there is nothing wrong with this ESC motor combination. It provides enough power, enough torque, and honestly, I have not really had any problem with the motor getting too hot. Yes, it did get a bit warm one day, and that's part of why I installed the fan, to help it keep it cool. Also because I moved to an area where it's definitely a lot hotter here during the summer, and that should also help. I'm not going to be running it in the dead heat, but I want to protect it as much as possible. Next upgrade, second to last, the wheels and tires. For this, I turned to Power Hobby. They're PHT 2732B. These are belted tires. They've got a half-inch offset, Ah, which reminds me, speaking of the offset, I almost forgot. I also replaced the stock hexes and hubs with M2C. There we go again, M2C. They're 17 millimeter adapter. The reason is that the Traxxas 17 millimeter adapters, the same ones that are used on the x-maxx, the same ones used on the XRT, they're a little bit off in size compared to industry standard. You know, when you look at the ones that are used by Arma, Hobao, and others, they are all a universal diameter and threading. Traxxas decided to, I guess you could say, go way outside the box in their own. So by replacing the stock ones with these, I haven't tightened these yet. You know, it's going to be a more universal fit for wheels. Much better. Now, for the soon-to-be-done upgrade. As many have already discovered, you know, these bodies are not all that durable. They're decent, but they're not great. This is my second body. Notice it's mostly clean. First one, after about 5 runs, it was in pretty bad shape. Granted, I was taking it to Calabasas Park I mentioned earlier, and although I did not go off that same ramp that Razor RC demolished his sledge on, there are plenty of others, and it still did enough damage. So, what do I have coming soon? A so-called indestructible body. These are from a guy in Russia, if I remember correctly. Ordered it off eBay. He has his own store on eBay. These bodies are well known to stand up to almost anything. Now you do have to cut them out, trim them down. You have to drill, cut out holes or whatever to mount the support inside. But these are fantastic. So that is what will be coming to the Sledge in the very near future. I figure I'm going to prep it and have it ready so that by the time this body gets demolished, it will be ready to go. As a matter of fact, these bodies are so fantastic that not only did I get one for the Sledge, I got one for the x-maxx. Of course, I started cutting, but it's still got a ways to go. So, there you have it. There's no such thing as a bulletproof build. I know some people use the term bulletproof in regards to some of these high-end upgrades, but truth is, nothing is bulletproof. This M2C 7075 aluminum chassis, ask Kevin Talbot. He knows it's not bulletproof because he's already destroyed one. Although I say destroyed, it really wasn't. I think he got it back into shape, but he did something similar. He was at a skate park and he landed it right on a rail and just bent it. Not to that degree, but it was still enough that, it was not in good shape. So again, nothing is bulletproof in RC. But I do believe that I have made this Sledge about as close to bulletproof as possible. So, there you have it. That is my Sledge-O-Matic. Until next time, mahalo.